This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Runaway Ryan Curran, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted source for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox. Sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the Runaway Ryan Curran.
How's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm good as well. And where could we see Ryan next?
Well, I'm currently wrestling for DKW RCWA. Recently made my debut for Prodigy Professional Wrestling, but I imagine in the next couple of years you're going to see me in a lot of places. And if you want to keep up to date, you can follow me at Ryan Curran PW on Instagram.
And merchandise?
Oh yeah, and we've got t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, or if you are local and come to any of the shows, I'll be there with 8x10s and t-shirts, and I'll be perfectly happy to take pictures and autograph anything.
Perfect. And the link to his Instagram will be in, and his Pro Wrestling Tees. All his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You work for DKW and RCWA. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Yeah, well, in November 2019, I was 15 years old, maybe 16, and I just started my training with RCWA, and it wasn't very serious at first. It was just something I thought I'd do because I attended one of their shows, and they just so happened to start training the next day. So I thought I'd go down, give it a try, and then one thing led to another. I met Taylor James at one of the sessions, and there was some fantastic people there. Like my first time working in a ring was at RCWA, but then Taylor James kind of took me to, train elsewhere while RCWA, because of COVID, had stopped doing training sessions. So that's how I ended up at DKW, and since then I've been wrestling for them for over a year now. And I'm just trying to make waves elsewhere. But I have a very good relationship with both companies, and I enjoy my time there.
So you started your training pre-pandemic.
Yeah, literally just before the pandemic. So I got a few months in, and then just total lockdown.
What was that like? Because obviously, you're only at the beginning stages, and I know the pandemic hit in the UK a lot harder than the US or other places pertaining to wrestling. So, what was that like?
I suppose at first it was kind of like, it didn't feel like a big loss because I hadn't started wrestling properly yet. I'd only been about 4 months into training, and then COVID kind of happened, and I didn't really get the taste for it, and I didn't really get the sense that this is something that I could do as, something further than just a little bit of a muckabout. But so it didn't really hit me too hard, and I even considered not taking it back up. But as things started to reopen again, this is how I came to be involved with DK, because they were running limited contact sessions through COVID that complied with the laws we had and the council's regulations on sports.
Okay.
So one of the very few ways I was able to access wrestling training at the early stage without, breaking the COVID restrictions. So it was one of very few options, but that just took on from there, and I started to get the sense that this is really something that I could do seriously.
And you said you considered not coming back. What made you not want to continue pursuing it, and what ultimately made you pursue it?
Well, I suppose it's always one of them things. It's quite strange, like being from Dagenham. Everyone's either like a plumber, an electrician, like a bricklayer. Everyone does something physical, or I suppose in more modern society, I suppose people work in office jobs, just typical sort of middle and working class things. And for me to anyway, it was kind of something that I was a bit ashamed of, wanting to be a wrestler. Because I don't know, it seemed a bit, it's not the norm. So I kind of thought, I'd shelf it anyway. But then coming out of the pandemic and then just giving it a little go, it was kind of like the taste of, well, I don't really care what people think. Because I would always, when I was younger, cared a lot about what people thought, and like in WWE or something, as like a 15-year-old or something, you always got the piss taken out of you for in secondary school or whatnot. I kind of thought it was like, I was worried about what people thought and whether I could actually do it. But then once that kind of went away and I realised this is something that really made me happy and something I enjoyed, that's kind of what drew me back into putting effort into it.
Alright. Now, can you tell us about your match against Jack Toreno?
Oh, Jack, yeah. I love Jack. Jack and Aiden, Jack and Taylor James, honestly, like two of my favourite people in wrestling. But I'd only wrestled Jack once, and that was as we were coming out of COVID. We was doing some tapings, so not shows in front of live crowds. And I think it was like my fourth match or something. And we wrestled like a long time ago, and it wasn't great because obviously I was very green and I had a lot to learn. But getting to face him recently, that was really fun because Jack's one of them people, he gives as good as he gets, and I could really everything looks good because I'm not afraid to actually hit Jack, because I know I'm going to get it back. I know I'm going to get it back. But Jack, I'm close with Jack. I like Jack, and it was just fun, and he's just super easy to work with, and he can do so much cool stuff, So always fun.
You mentioned that Jack was your one of your first matches, and obviously you wrestled him recently. What kind of did you see back then? How did you measure your progress during that match?
Well, I think the first time I wrestled him, I was blowing the air about 5 minutes in. I was absolutely gassed. Couldn't remember anything. Didn't really listen to what he was calling to me out there. But I felt like the most recent time we wrestled, there was a couple moments where it wasn't perfect, but overall I was a lot more comfortable and confident, and I felt like I did a lot more. My stuff looked better, and my cardio held up as well. So, I was really happy with that. That was quite. It's funny you should say it, 'cause it was a good measuring stick to see how far I'd come in that year and a bit, and that I'm very rarely satisfied with matches after I've had them, but just seeing the progress I'd made was quite rewarding.
And I mean, one could say that the match you had with Jack was, as Big E would say, slappy meat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Jack likes the old All Japan stuff as well. I'm a big fan of that. So we had to get a strike off in there somewhere, and yeah, he's a hard hitter, man, and he's a big dude as well. He's we call him girthy. He's the girthy Rhino. He's built like a rhino. He's, you know.
Can you tell us about your relationship with your tag team partner, Harry McDonald?
Oh, Harry, you spoke to him recently, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, mate, he's, yeah. So, basically, Harry was wrestling at DKW before the pandemic, and he had another tag team partner, but he kind of dropped off. So Taylor James and Jack Toreno, they were running a promotion called Triumph, and what was basically said to me was that we were going to be used as like a rookie tag team. So I thought, okay. So we attended, like, they were really good to us. Like, they gave us free seminars with some of like the best wrestlers in the country. And at the level I was at and the experience I'd had at DK so far, it was really like it was crazy to get that experience for, like, they basically done it for nothing for us, which was really nice. So through that, I got to know Harry, and then as we realised we had a common interest in, this was pre-controversy, by the way, we had a common interest in Kanye West. So we became quite, like, we became friends, and then we began tagging at DK, and then subsequently RCWA. But throughout that, I mean, like, we're not just tag partners. Like, he's my friend, and I genuinely enjoy all the work I do with him, especially at RCWA. When we get to be heels, it's like, it's the most fun I have in wrestling. But yeah, no, honestly, Harry, cannot say enough nice things about him. Except I can say one bad thing: he's got a very weak right knee.
Would you say that's a pet peeve that you don't understand about him?
A pet peeve about Harry? Oh my god! Did you ask him one about me?
Yes.
What did he say?
When you answer yours, I'll tell you what his was.
Okay. Oh, this is wicked. A pet peeve. Oh god, I have no idea actually. One thing that he does that annoys me, indecisive on tag names. That was it. He couldn't decide. For about 3 months we were sat there thinking we need a tag name. We can't come up with a tag name. So, like, it was just up in the air. And then we had to change our tag name because we went for second to none.
Yeah.
And, like, of course, that was already in use by a better tag team. So it was like, right, so we can't call ourselves that because we are second to someone because they are better wrestlers than us. So we've got to think of a new tag name. And then we went through the whole thing again. We had like a list of like 15 names, and we were stressing, and we was like pulling our hair out, like, bruv, we've got to choose one of these names. What could we go? I like this one. No, that one's a bit too this one. But yeah, that's a pet peeve. But we've got our tag name now. We're the Big Steppers, so that's sorted. That's a past problem.
And Harry's pet peeve about you was he didn't have a pet peeve about you.
Oh, he definitely does. He just didn't want to say it here. Oh god. Oh, you made me look bad now.
I mean, it wasn't that bad. You just said that you couldn't come up with a tag team name.
No,
we've gone
if he had thought of that, he would have said the same thing as well, because we was like stressing so much about this tag team name.
Well, one of the tag team names that you came up with was the Kanye West Fan Club.
Well, I wouldn't say that was a name we came up with. That was more of like it was instead of sort of saying name pending, we was like, Kanye West Fan Club. But I don't think that would go down as well as it would have back then.
Right.
You know.
Were there other rejected ones that stand out to you?
Oh, we had there's some great ones. What did we have? We had the Inner City A side. We had just the A side. Inner City Boys. We had so many. I literally had like a notes page on my phone of about 20 names, and we were stressing out about which one we was going to pick. And of course, the one we ended up picking was a tag name that was already taken.
Right.
And the name was second to none. I mean, it's amazing.
Now, can you tell us about the schoolyard promos you did with Harry?
The schoolyard promos.
For the playground.
Oh, the playground ones. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Yeah. Which one in particular? Because there was two, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, any promos with Harry are just funny. We don't ever just sit there and go, right, we're going to say this, then that's your cue to jump in, and then we're going to da-da-da-da-da. We literally just turn on the camera and then just say whatever ridiculous things come to mind. And I think that's why it's so funny, because we just bounce off each other. I mean, I don't know if other people find them funny, but I find them funny, which is good enough for me, you know. I mean, I think the only thing we actually planned in one of them was beating up Ash, who's a 16-year-old trainee at DKW. But, you know, we wanted to get that in.
The Prime Junkie.
Yeah, the Prime Junkie. Yeah, we just wanted to jump on the trend of Prime and lay some boots into Ash, really. Just an excuse for us to give him some boots. He's got to pay his dues.
But you actually produced those promos, correct?
I did, yeah. I produce all my own stuff, predominantly, and even some bits and pieces for Harry. Right now, I'm literally in the process of doing the an ad for his merch, so I'm editing that for him, and also his promo at Prodigy for the match with Levi Murr. I literally lugged about £800 worth of lighting equipment. This will mean nothing to you, but for the English listeners or like the Essex listeners, I was lugging £800 of equipment on the train from Clapham to where Harry lives in Southend. So I was on the train for about an hour and a half and walking 20 minutes either way with like nearly £1,000 worth of equipment on my back just so we could get these promos filmed. And I'm very proud of them.
Oh, I can imagine that's a very daunting task.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, I had insurance for the production. Like you just because I'm at film school, so I took out the equipment, paid for the insurance, and they're brilliant. They just basically let me take out anything as long as it's insured, within reason, obviously. But yeah, we really wanted to get these promos for RCWA done. I don't know if you saw them. They were the ones of us drinking in Harry's garden.
Yeah.
And they were just so much fun. I just like we like doing serious stuff occasionally, but when we can just mess about and have a laugh and just, I feel like 90% of our promos is us just trying to pop our mates or like pop the boys. So that's why they're always entertaining to us. I don't know how the viewers find them, but we enjoy them.
Now, you said like you're in film school, so has being in, obviously film is telling stories. Has that gave you any perspective in your pro wrestling career that kind of helped you?
Yeah, it has actually. There was one lecture I was in. Someone was talking about film, and they said they used the analogy of it being like a language, and the shots you use and the visual storytelling devices you use are like words that help comprise that story. And I can't remember. I was talking to somebody. I can't remember who it was, and I was basically explaining why, like, you can't just overdo moves in wrestling. And the way I see it is wrestling is that same thing. It's like a language, and the moves you do are like words that convey that story. And you could literally just spurt a load of lovely long words on a page, and they could be nice words, but it wouldn't make a good or compelling story. And it's the same for wrestling, I think, because I had a little phase where I was just trying to do all the cool things I knew how to do, or getting all my big moves and all my big bumps, but treating it as like a language and having to have short sentences and having to have things that are less complex to make those nice long words seem as beautiful as they are, to make those nice big moves see as big as they are. You need to have just everything throughout. So that's the one big takeaway I've had from translating things I've learned about film into wrestling. But otherwise, it's pretty much been the other way around. I've taken everything I know about wrestling psychology and the pacing of telling a story and used that in my filmmaking approach. So I feel like wrestling has contributed more to filmmaking than the other way around, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you're early on in your career, but is, doing the behind the scenes of pro wrestling something you're interested in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not. When I first started wrestling, I kind of had the mentality that, oh yeah, if I'm good enough, I can make enough money to live off wrestling. But that's just not. I don't see that as a realistic goal for the moment, anyway. Like now, anymore, I should say. So my aim is to just try and get into. Obviously, I want to keep wrestling and I want to wrestle in as many places as possible. But I want to start opening the doors to doing production for other wrestlers or companies. Just freelancing in the same way I'm doing wrestling, just to try and vary the ways I'm making money from wrestling, because it isn't at this level, it doesn't pay well.
Right.
And I'm not delusional enough to think that I'm going to get £500 bookings a week to pay my bills. Like it's not realistic. So stepping into the production side of things and the behind the scenes is definitely something that I've started considering a lot more recently. And I'm pretty sure that it is something that I want to explore in the coming year.
Now, your nickname is the Runaway. Can you tell us about the constrictor?
The constrictor. Oh wow. Nice, by the way. You've been researching. But the constrictor was basically when I started wrestling. Like I said, I was it ties into what I was saying earlier. Like I was ashamed of being like a wrestling fan, and I was thinking, oh, people are going to think, wrestling fake and stupid. So I came in with the idea that I wanted to be like everyone wants to be cool, serious shoot fighter. Everyone wants to be MMA shorts, taped fists, gum shield. I'm going to do chokeholds. So the nickname, the constrictor, come from the idea that I wanted to do lots of submission-based offense. But then when I was actually planning my matches, I found myself kind of being like, well, how do I get a submission in? Because that wasn't you can't really force a style like that, especially when you've just come out of training school. Like I was in no position to be trying to play that sort of character. And I don't think I'm legitimate enough to play that sort of character. I think there's still remnants of it in what I wear, because I still wear the boxing shorts.
Right.
But I think, I don't present myself as a MMA fighter anymore because I think that's boring. And I think some people can do it. Some people can really do the legitimate fighter thing. But I think unless you're really legit or you're really good at presenting that intensity, you're not gonna go very far with it. I think there's a ceiling on what you can achieve with basically just being serious fighter character. So I've just now working with Harry basically drew that out of me, because before I tagged with Harry, I was doing the constrictor stuff and I wasn't very happy with the way wrestling was going. And that's not to say I'm content with it now. I'm still not happy with where I'm at, and I want to get a lot further. But working with Harry, in terms of my character, extracted my real personality, because Harry's the sort of person you can't just be like boring with. He pulls that out of you. He really brings out your natural character, and that's what happened. And I was just being myself more and I was more comfortable doing that than rather pretending to be this MMA fighter that I wasn't. So the constrictor kind of fizzled out, and then now I'm the Runaway.
And you mentioned, like a shoot fighter. You actually did have a shoot fight against Tyson Lee, no?
You see that it depends what we mean by shoot fight. So I wasn't we wasn't actually shooting, like we wasn't legitimately wrestling. We was working with each other, but we was going for legit holds, and if someone wanted to take something, we'd let them take. We was working together, but in a shoot style.
Yeah.
And that was more an exercise in just freestyle wrestling and just like getting used to just taking holds and stuff. Because I think that's one of the things about DKW is, like, regardless of anything else, it does genuinely have quite a rich history in technical and mat-based wrestling. And I think it would be stupid to not take advantage of that, especially with someone like Tyson Lee, who's quite legit in terms of grappling. He knows what he's doing. So just getting there and kind of just sparring almost with someone like him in that environment is a helpful exercise, and just getting comfortable just freestyling. And it translates well to when you're chain wrestling at the start of a match as well. Like, you're just comfortable taking a limb, holding on, grabbing something. If you don't know an escape for something, just grab a limb, go for something. It really helps. And that was more like, it wasn't supposed to be presented as like, oh, we're legit fighting. It was kind of more like, we're just going to work in a shoot style. But again, it was a very helpful exercise, and I enjoyed doing that type of wrestling.
Do you think somewhere down the line you'll have a legitimate shoot fight with Tyson Lee?
No, he beat me easily. Absolutely, he totally wiped the floor with me. 100%. So no, I would not shoot fight Tyson Lee, because he'd definitely win.
Alright. Well, from shoot fighting to something a little bit more hardcore, can you tell us about the Trick or Yeet match against Vinny Daniels?
Vinny. See, that was fun. That was my first time doing anything weapons related, but I'm not a big fan of like weapons matches in wrestling. I'm not a big fan of like hardcore stuff, really. Like not hardcore per se, but like and at that stage in my career as well, I didn't want to be doing like spot festy type stuff.
Right.
So I made a point of going into that match of just saying I wanted to structure it like a wrestling match. So we basically just wrestled. He cut me off. I mean, he didn't like stab me or anything. He like cut me off, put some heat on me with weapons and stuff. Then I wanted to run a wrestling comeback. He cuts me off again, heats up on me some more with the weapons, and then I do a weapon comeback. And I wanted this to be the first time I used the weapons in the match to get a big payoff and a big pop from the crowd. Because I kind of wanted to put more thought into it than just, now we DDT him onto a chair, now we hit him with a kendo stick, now we drop him on some tacks. Funny enough, we did do a tack spot, but I didn't bump onto the tacks. He just filled my mouth with thumbtacks and gave me a super kick. And I took the bump and I spat all the tacks out, and it was a really nice visual. I spat them all out into the air, and I thought, oh, that was nice, and it was safe. But as I've laid down, I thought, oh, there's still one thumbtack in my mouth.
Oh my god.
So I'm trying to spit it out. I'm thinking, So I put my tongue up against it, and it's like stabbed into the side of my cheek.
Oh.
So I'm there on the floor selling, and I'm trying to pick out this tack from my mouth. And I just thought, yeah, I'm probably not going to do that one again. Yeah.
That spot has always interested me. Like, having soft metal objects in your mouth.
Yeah. It's a weird one, but I mean, even when it was in my gum, it didn't hurt. It was just the fact of, if it was like 5 next time, that might be a different story. And it didn't like pierce all the way through, but it was kind of like maybe that was a bit stupid moment. But generally, it didn't hurt. It was just like having like metal cereal or something in your mouth. Just got to be careful not to swallow it.
Now, obviously you and Harry are doing fantastic things, everything that we talked about. Can you tell us about your rivalry with Sue?
Sue Osprey.
Yes.
Well, this is quite a recent thing. So me and Harry started in RCWA on the pre-show. Long story short, we never won a match until Harry basically forced himself into an Elite One title match. And see, I wasn't at this event, and he won their championship. And this is like their I don't want to say mid card belt because it is like at RCWA. It seems like the titles are interchangeable with like in terms of the position on the card.
Right.
But it's like their workers belt, basically. And I mean, the lineage of that title is really incredible. Like people like Kip Sabian, Will Ospreay, Paul Robinson. I mean, some genuinely like great wrestlers have held that belt. And it was kind of like, it was so funny to have me and Harry, who were these like annoying, mouthy young heels who've never won a match. Now suddenly, like, we've got this belt hostage. So Harry's won that title, and at the next show we do the Big Mac Championship celebration, where we just filled the ring with balloons, which I had to be very careful of because I'm allergic to latex. True story. Like, for some reason they just didn't listen to me that I was allergic to. I say they. It was Aiden. It was he didn't listen to me when I said I'm allergic to latex. But so we had balloons, we had packages, we had all the confetti going up, and we was basically just ripping into Raynham and making ourselves sound great. And then we faked out the crowd doing like the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart spot where Will Ospreay's music played, and it wasn't too far fetched that he'd be there because Will came back for a show recently, and obviously Sue's his mum and she's involved with the running of RCWA. So it wouldn't be too out of the realm of possibility that Will would come back for a spot. So we played Will's music, and then it was so funny. The crowd were throwing up the United Empire signs, and we just had fun with it. And then Sue comes out, and I mean, talk about stealing the show. Like Will's music got a pop, but then after the spot where we played Will's music and then Sue's music hit, I mean that was like the pop of the night. She got a bigger pop than Will's music did, and she comes out, and like I'm thinking, and I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't doubt that Sue would be a good actor, but it was like I'd never seen it, and she comes out and she just starts ripping into not barely even me. Just mostly Harry. And it was some of the funniest things I've ever heard. Just off the fly as well. And so the whole thing right now is she forced me to have my match with, funny enough, Tyson Lee at RCWA. And then at the next RCWA event, Harry will be facing a former Elite One champion of Sue's choosing. So that's exciting. And that's something for the fans to look forward to because there's no word on who that might be, and the list of champions is quite impressive. So you never know who it's going to be. But generally, it was so funny to get to do an angle with Will Ospreay's mum, and just I mean it's not even just Will Ospreay's mum. I mean Sue Osprey is Sue Osprey. She's so funny. But yeah, that was great. I enjoyed it. That was. Like I say, the stuff I do at RCWA is the most fun I have, just because they let me just be annoying. And I like being a good guy, but when I'm with Harry and we're just bouncing off each other and just riling up a crowd, it's my favourite thing. It really is. It gives me a pleasure like nothing else.
And Sue is legitimately Will's mom.
Yeah, that is literally Will Ospreay's mum.
Like, it's not a walk, it's a shoot.
Yeah, that is Shoot Will Osprey's mum.
Well, speaking of moms, your mom's never seen you wrestle?
No, she has actually. She
Okay.
she came to, so she hadn't. She's seen me wrestle once. She hadn't come to a show ever, basically, because she doesn't like the idea of seeing me get beat up. So I made her come to one recently. It was just a small DKW show, and I was wrestling No Nonsense Tom Edwards, and I made a specific point of just because I knew my mum was there, doing things I'd never done before that I just knew would scare her. So I did a cannibal senton off of the apron specifically just to worry her. And I swear to God, every time I looked up during the heat and tried to look at my mum, she had her head in her hands. My stepdad was laughing, and she had her head in her hands just looking at the floor. I genuinely feel like she paid her admission just to stare at the floor for like half an hour.
Well, I mean, that's a good mom. She didn't want to see you get too hard.
Yeah, it's true, but you know, it was I mean, it's wrestling. You know, I was fine, but she obviously just didn't like everything.
That brings us to our next segment. Ryan Curran's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads and weird, crazy, and bizarre things about happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh, a bizarre thing happening.
Yes, a weird, crazy, bizarre road story. Or just in general.
One that's actually happened?
Yes.
Oh, great. So, so myself, Taylor James, Jack Toreno, and Mark Hendry. We drive to, Taylor James drives us to Takeley to wrestle HEW, Hertz and Essex Wrestling.
Okay.
And we're having a tag match. It's me and Mark, because it was supposed to be Harry, but Harry couldn't make it. So it was me and Mark versus Taylor and Jack. And halfway through the match, Taylor sends me off, gives me a back elbow, and then he falls to the floor, clutching his chest, saying, "I can't breathe." So I'm like, we're taking it home. And he goes, no, it's all right. So I think, okay, so he's not dying. Anyway, long story short, he's torn his pec, giving me a back elbow. And where the road story comes into it, I mean, picture this. We're driving from Takeley to where where Taylor and I kind of live, that area. And that was like an hour drive, at least. And of course, we're wrestlers. We had to stop off at McDonald's on the way back. Of course. So we are now in a car being driven by a man with a torn... I don't want to get him points on his license, but we're getting driven by a man with a torn pec while Jack is feeding him... while Mark is feeding him his McDonald's cheeseburger at night. And I'm here like... there's very few times when I've genuinely felt scared for my life. But to be fair, that's credit to his driving. I mean...
Could nobody else drive?
I don't think so. None of us drove, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. But he definitely drove us back. And he was fine. I mean, can't have been too bad of an injury. He was back quite quick. But yeah, that was... at the time, we didn't know that it wasn't, like, really serious. So, yeah, Mark feeding Taylor James a cheeseburger, driving back from Takeley is one of my favourites.
Well, it's definitely a visual, to say the least.
Yeah, it was exciting to see.
Alright. Can you tell us about getting ran over by a golf cart?
Getting run over by... Oh. So no, that was just on holiday with my mates recently. We went away. We went to mini golf and there was like a little static go-kart there. So I thought, wouldn't it be funny if we took a picture of me being run over? I wasn't actually run over, thankfully. But yeah, I just found that funny.
Okay. Then, could you tell us about the handbag?
The handbag?
Yes.
Oh, my girlfriend's handbag. That was why all of these stories are to do with mini golf. So it was just me going to a mini golf course for my girlfriend's birthday, and we went, and I just was holding her handbag, and I caught a glimpse of myself in like one of the holes which had a mirror on it, and I thought, I really am rocking this handbag. And there was like a perfect scene with like a phone on a wall, and I thought, I'm gonna look so cold with this handbag on, in this fit, wearing the Air Forces, the inverted Panda Air Forces, and this handbag. And I looked back at the photo and thought, I look so hard. I look so good in that.
I mean, it did get a lot of traction, that picture did.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't quite found the perfect handbag for me yet, because I did have to give that one back to her. But you know, maybe one day, next time I'm in like, I don't know, New Look or something, and I see a handbag that really speaks to me, I'll grab it.
I feel like if this is very like The Rock when he has the turtleneck and the fanny pack, you know that picture? It's very that-esque.
It is. Hey, I'm a style icon. The Rock was like, he peaked when he was wearing the fanny pack and the turtleneck, in my opinion. Fashion-wise, at least.
Oh. It's time for the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
The first 3 songs. Oh, well, that is a really good question. I think the first song, I want it to be "The Power of Love," so I could have just like a Marty McFly intro, just like I don't skateboard, but I could just like lightly jog down the street or something.
Okay.
I think that'd be pretty cool. just Power of Love, and then so this is the first 3 songs. So this is like, so bang. Let's just say in the film, I've woke up, I've gone downstairs, ate breakfast, Power of Love's playing, da 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 da. I run to training. Now I'm at training, and then what's the song that plays while I'm at training? What would I have? I think it just. I think it's so tough. Off the Grid by Kanye West.
Okay.
It'd have to be. That'd be my like. Okay, now we're training. Now we're training music. I think that's like a serious head down, bang, I'm in the zone song, you know.
Okay.
And then the next song. Oh, see, I don't know what the next song would be in terms of if there was a film soundtrack, right? But I know for a fact that the last song that would have to play in a film about my life is Freebird. It would have to be. It would have to be Freebird, just because all of the greatest films in history have ended with Freebird. Like Willy's Wonderland, starring Nicolas Cage. Last song in that is Freebird. And what's the Rob Zombie one? The sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses. That ends with Freebird. It's just such an epic song to end a film on. And I think, like, for however the story about my life is going to end, I feel like it'd need Freebird playing.
Alright, that's a solid 3 picks right there. Now that we got the soundtrack down, then then you write the script, and then you go on to casting. Who plays Ryan? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Okay. Alright. Who's the guy that plays Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad? I think if we let him grow a beard and then bulk him up a little bit, I think he'd really look like me. I really see that. I don't know why. I always look at him and think, if you grew a beard, you'd be identical to me.
David, that's Melton?
I think so. I have no idea. I'll take your word for that. But yeah, give that man a beard and then give him some burgers and, lots of protein shakes, and then he can be me.
Alright. Now, who would be 3 people in your movie that are significant in your life? And who would play them?
You'd need the comedy supporting character. So we'd have Harry McDonald. I'd have him played by Andrew Garfield, hands down. Andrew Garfield. That is the perfect casting for Harry. And then I think we'll have. I want to keep it to wrestling people. So let's go with Jack Toreno. I want the guy who plays Phil Mitchell to grow out a really big beard. Steve McFadden, I think his name is. For Jack, we want Phil Mitchell with a beard. And then my third pick would be Taylor James. What we want to do is we want to get Johnny Depp, but we want to get him to grow out his hair really long and just keep it wet all the time, and then let him grow out a beard, but then leave him homeless for just a day and a bit, and then he can play Taylor James. And then we've got our casting.
I love the fact that you're giving the actors homework.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of people that look exactly like them, but then I think this has got to be a true to life adaptation. So we want Johnny Depp to be on the streets of Grays for a month. I was going to be a day, but I've said a month there. Leave him in Grays or for a month, and then have him go tan or something, and then perfect.
All right. Well, this is sounding like a fantastic movie, and you can pre-order the tickets now.
I'd go see that.
Alright. On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
No. Never. Pizza's my favourite food, but I disagree. I will eat anything, right? But when it comes to pizza, I'm very against toppings on it, because I think the second you start cooking stuff onto a pizza, you're reinventing the wheel. I think the best bit about the pizza is the relationship between the cheese and the sauce. And the second you start chucking pepperoni on there, you're messing that up because you're taking away from their spotlight. So I genuinely am a no toppings on pizza man.
Interesting. I think you're the first person that is anti anything on pizza.
Yeah, it's I'm not a political guy, but no toppings on pizza. That's it. That's my one rule. If I get in power, I'm saying, look, we need to start, cracking down on this. No toppings on pizza, because you're just messing it up.
Alright. Well, I have 2 UK exclusive questions for you now. KFC or Nando's?
Nando's, 100%.
Really?
Yeah. The thing is with KFC, it's just, I never feel good after eating a KFC. It's just greasy. It's horrible. But with a Nando's, I don't feel particularly great about it, but I'm that was absolutely banging. That was so tasty.
Alright. And is the greatest person ever to be knighted Patrick Stewart?
I have no idea, honestly. Who's been knighted? Who have we got? People that have been knighted. I mean, Patrick Stewart's a great one, but I mean, if I was to say who the greatest is, Probably Elton John.
Okay.
Probably Elton John. Yeah.
Well, you're the first person to not say somebody that isn't in the X-Men franchise. Usually, if it's not Patrick Stewart, it's Ian McKellen.
Yeah, that's one that came to mind. I thought, what Sirs do I know? Sir Ian McKellen? Sir Pat. I know Ben. Is Ben Kingsley United? I don't know. But
If
yeah,
he's
no,
not,
I'd
he should.
Elton John, definitely, 100%. I love Elton.
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon.
Yes.
Oh, that is not a question I expected. I would say, what's the Pansear? Is that the fire monkey? Pansear, that is, yeah. That is 100% my spirit Pokemon. Any of the monkey Pokemon, to be fair, but I think the fire monkey, just because it's like red and that's my colour. So for branding purposes, I'll say Pansear.
Okay. Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
THUG. I have no idea.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. Because a Doug can't spell. Alright, we love the late great Tracy, trying to keep the memory alive. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
How big is this rock?
I'd say that it's about the size of a shoe.
Okay. How long have we got? And who's over? Who's winning?
15 minutes and the Rock goes over.
Yeah, see, I could make that rock look like a star. I wouldn't want to beat a rock because I think that would be boring. But if I had a rock beating me up for 15 minutes, I would find a way to make it work.
Then you have something in common with Psycho Mike, that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes in what was called a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasted for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to see footage of that.
I will send it to you.
There's footage of it?
Yes, 100%.
Oh,
This is a thing out there.
That's sick.
And if you ever go to Canada, then you'll know the guys.
Sweet.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I mean, realistically, 5 years' time, I see myself still British independence, but I see myself having moved up a step, and hopefully, I'm in a place where I've honed my craft. I mean, with wrestling, I'm not in a rush to get anywhere. Like, I've got time on my side, so in 5 years, I'll be more than happy if I'm, just busy doing the independent circuit, but I'm in the midst of honing and perfecting my skill set. And I think that's realistically where I'm going to be. But again, that's not a bad thing. I'm here for a long journey. I'm here to get to where I want to be, because I do want to make a career out of wrestling. I'm just not. I don't think that's going to happen within 5 years. But hopefully, I will have laid the foundation for what's going to be a career.
Alright. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
One of my matches, or just a match in general?
No, your match.
Oh, okay. I'd suggest. I mean, my match against it's hard to pick just one. I would say when it comes out, my match against Tyson Lee at Prodigy Pro Wrestling, purely because that's me in my element, and we just, again, Tyson's another one of those guys. He likes the type of wrestling that I like, and I'm not exclusive to working in that style, but I like when there's guys that want to do that kind of more striking based match, and I've definitely geared my moveset into a more striking territory. So definitely the match with Tyson Lee at Prodigy, but seeing as that's not out yet, I would say the match with Jack Toreno at DKW.
And is that on YouTube?
It may be. I have no idea.
Right.
If not, I'll speak to someone and it will be.
Okay. And if it is, I will find the match on YouTube, and I will put a link to that match in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. For anybody
Brilliant.
who hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Yeah, so what is this? It's like a go answer quick.
It's a speed round.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, you could answer the questions however slow or fast you'd like to.
Okay.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Randy Orton.
Worst wrestler.
Jumping Jeff Farmer.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
AJ Styles.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
DX.
The original?
No, like the famous one.
Yeah, the original one.
Yeah.
Finish the sentence. K-Babe is...
Confusing.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Fruit.
And that is correct.
Is it?
Tomato logic. New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the wall. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Depends how sexy you want to be.
Is sexiness in, layers, or, like, what's a percentage? Sexiness in percentage.
Well, I'd say a thong is too far, but if you want to if you like wearing like some batty riding shorts, I think that's fine. I think you can push it to like 85%.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
I have never.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And once again, where can we find all things Ryan Curran on social media and merchandise?
Well, if you follow me on Instagram at Ryan Curran PW, that's Ryan Curran PW, no spaces. You'll basically have a hub to everything. So, yeah, go follow me there.
And merchandise is on Pro Wrestling Tees?
Pro Wrestling Tees, that's correct.
Okay. And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you're on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Worth Energy and Paramount Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. And follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter, X, and Instagram. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Ryan, when I say Wrestling With, you say entertainment, okay?
Yep.
For our very special guest, Ryan Curran, Coleco Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling With
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.